Hello guys, Jerry speaking. Welcome to LJPCBM episode number 1368. And last year I was originally planning on reacting to Purple Rose podcast episode 98 through 170 last year. But I was intending to do that, but thankfully I have huge plans. I have wasted my time to react to these past, let's say, from 98 till 117 of Purple Rose podcast, and then we'll get to the mixtape launch podcast series after this is over. But today we're going to be reacting to Purple Rose podcast episode 98, Stan Tucker of the Very Airy Library. If we react to this beginning in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go.
I'm Carrie Stinson, and my journey through life has been quite an adventure. For over 20 years, I played Barney the Dinosaur on tour, and 7 seasons of the hugely popular TV show, Barney and Friends. Now my journey is to bring together friends and guests from all over the entertainment world for inspiring and at times amusing behind-the-scenes conversation. I'm Carrie Stinson, and this is Purple Roads.
Welcome to Purple Roads. My name is Carrie Stinson, and as always, I'm thrilled you're here. And I was excited beforehand, and now I'm really excited getting to talk to this gentleman before we start this episode. You know, we have all kinds of different people that come on this show, from performers to puppeteers, behind the scenes, in front of the scenes. And we've had a couple authors on. And this gentleman is an author.
Okay.
He's also a founder of an amazing foundation that we're going to talk about. I found out him because he's doing a TV show as well. I don't know when this man sleeps, but I'm so excited to have Stan Tucker on. Stan, or I should say Stan the man. Stan, how are you?
Carrie, it's a pleasure and an honor to be here today. I'm doing great. Thank you so much for that amazing introduction. Thank you.
Well, it's such a pleasure to have you on this show. Our good friend Danny Lebrecht introduced me to you. Actually, just said you need to watch this show, The Very Airy Library. I was blown away. We've introduced and interviewed the Young brothers who do the production side, but I was also so impressed by you. You're a natural host. And so then I started looking you up, and I started seeing about the foundation and then the author and all of that. It's such impressive. You obviously have such a love for what you're doing and a passion for what you're doing. So, you know, why don't we start out how you got into all of this?
Yeah. How much time do we have?
We got an hour, and I know of any episode I've ever done, we're going to use every second of it up.
Wow.
I promise you we're going to use it with my story. So kind of stumbled into where I am. You know, I feel as though God has really ordered my steps in my life to get me to this place. But I grew up in a small town. My mother, she worked at a health department, and she was the type of lady when she saw young girls coming in with babies, having kids at a young age. She would say, "Hey, if you need a weekend off, we'll take care of the kid of your kid." And so I always remember my childhood of having kids in our house.
Wow.
It really instilled a love for children in my life. And once I graduated high school, I knew that I wanted to be a teacher. But one of my principals was so impactful in my life. He told me that he wanted me to go to school and come back and take the reins from him. And so I had so many impactful moments in my life that led me down the path of education. Fast forward to my college days, I graduated with a degree with early childhood education from Kennesaw State University. And I wanted to teach kindergarten. And everybody used to joke at me and say, "Hey, you're going to be kindergarten cop like Arnold Schwarzenegger."
Wow.
And but anyway.
Yeah, Arnold Schwarzenegger. As in, look at Dee Snider from 2001 as Arnold's Battle Cry from 2001, something like that. Anyway, let's continue on.
Anyway, got into the school system, loved it, and I wanted to become a principal. And some unfortunate
Wow.
situations happened where I was living. Someone broke into my apartment and my car, and I ended
Jeez.
up moving. And it was the best thing that happened to me because when I moved, I just wanted to kind of reevaluate my time in the classroom and the new area that I was living in. And so I was just going to take a year off. And during that year, I needed to get in front of students because that's my love. And so that's where Leap for Literacy was born. It was just
Wow.
for giving me an avenue to get in front of kids. And so the way I started it was just going into schools, giving books to kids, underserved kids, and telling them the importance of reading. And just over time, it's grown and developed into what it is now. And
Wow.
met the brothers, and we decided to take some of the components that I'm doing in my real life with books and everything and put it into this show. So it's just really cool to see how, and that's the short version. I can go on for an hour to tell you about all these other things, but that's kind of how I ended up where I am.
Wow.
Well, and we're gonna get into all that, and I think it's important as we start this because it really touched my heart. As you're mentioning all those people that have touched your life, I know your father was also very important in your life.
Yeah.
And you lost him at a young age. And
Yeah.
you took that, and that's where the author is on your shirt. You wrote a book.
Yeah, yeah. So one of the programs, so let me just tell you the three things we focus on at Leap for Literacy. The first thing is book enjoyment. So
Wow.
I have a YouTube channel called Stories with Stan where I read books virtually to show the kids the joy of reading, right? The second is book ownership. So we have a bookmobile
Wow.
where kids get to earn books through acts of kindness. Our saying is kindness is the currency. And the third initiative, to circle it all back around, is book authorship. And that's where kids get an opportunity to go through our 8-week writing course. And at the end of it, they submit their books and we can professionally illustrate them. And I'll show you some of those. But I took this mindset into that program. I said, how can I ask a kid to write a story? And I'd never written a story. And so I thought about what would be the first story or the person that I would want to write about, the person who was most influential, and that was my father. And so I took my story of my father and turned it into a book. And so the title, I have it here with me, the title is called Stan and the Man. So named
Wow.
after my father. So I refer to him in the story as the man. And I wanted to teach kids that in our lives, we're going to lose things, you know, whether that's going from elementary school to middle school and middle school to high school. You're going to lose those teachers, right? You're going to leave them behind. And in my case, I lost a parent. And it sucks when we lose things. It hurts,
Wow.
right? But we have to realize that when we lose things, we got to remember that they're always with us through the experiences that we shared. And so the way I end my book is I say, I'm thankful for the time I had with the man, and I hope that he is proud of the man that I am. And so I understand that, and I kind of step into the role of the man. So I refer to him as the man the whole time. I don't call him dad, I call him the man. And so I transition into the man. And so hopefully I'll write a sequel sometime soon about me and my son. And that's kind of how it's going to flow. But yeah, so I had to write a book myself to be able, in my opinion, to ask a kid to share their story. Because I'm a former athlete and I respected the coaches the most who played the game. Not saying if you didn't play the game, you didn't know the game. But if you played the game, you can really relate to me. And so that's the reason I wanted to write my own book. So.
Wow.
Well, so my story, you didn't even know this aspect, but I have just recently become a stepfather.
Wow.
To 2 teens, and they lost their father.
Wow.
Oh man.
My new wife is a widow, and so hearing that, I know how important it is. I know how important it is. They were, one of them was your age, and one was actually a little younger when they lost their father.
Wow.
Wow.
To cancer, and
Oh.
so I understand that, and it just made me go, wow, I'm so glad someone did that. You'll reach so many people from that.
Yeah.
And there's so many different ways.
Wow.
You know,
and
that they lose things, and then taking it even bigger. I just think it's beautiful.
Wow.
Yeah, and I'm glad you said that too. Thank you for sharing that. One thing that I always tell the kids when we start this writing program, I say, take examples or take experiences that you've had through your own life and share those, because there's been billions of people who came before us.
Mm-hmm.
There'll be billions of people that come after us. And out of those billions of people, some of those people are going to experience, a lot of those people are going to experience the same things that you're experiencing. So it's up to you to share your story to one day help that person that's going to experience that in the future. And when I go out and do author visits at school, I always take a couple
Mm-hmm.
extra free copies, because every time, Carrie, after I finish my presentation, a teacher will bring at least one kid, and it's been as many as 5 kids who've lost fathers.
Mm-hmm.
And I can talk to them in that moment and get on their level and say, hey, I know what you're going through. It's hard, it's tough. And I give them a copy, and I tell them, free copy, and I tell them that I believe in them. They can do anything they want, even though their parent is not there with them, but they're watching down on them. And I want you to live a life that makes them proud.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're able to help others with our stories, just like you gave me that example. All of our stories are connected, and it's up to us to help each other get through them. And we can do that through stories.
Yes.
Absolutely. And it's one of the aspects that I love about this so much, what you're doing, because, technology has become so big in kids'
Oh, yeah.
lives.
Mm-hmm.
And videos and YouTubes and all that. And obviously there's an important aspect of that. But
Right.
you just can't get away from books. You can't get away
Yeah.
from the importance of books and reading and the quiet time and all the wonderful things that books do.
Yeah.
And for you to not only be getting that to them, but also inspiring them to write, whether you're good or not, it doesn't matter. The fact that you're trying and you're doing
Right.
it, and then you let them hold that book, it's just such a beautiful thing that you're doing. And I've talked about this before on this show.
Uh-huh.
I didn't expect to get into kids entertainment. I was a musician. Heard
Mm-hmm.
about ambition. Next thing I know, I'm in a purple costume. And then I absolutely fall in love with entertaining kids and educating kids and teaching all these messages.
Yeah.
You obviously knew to a point, right? Because you wanted to be a teacher.
Mhm.
But then I think you feel exactly what you're supposed to be doing, because I think you've got this passion, this big message.
Wow.
You step into this and you start doing this, and you start. What did it feel like when you started realizing, one, I found what I'm supposed to be doing, but two, there's a responsibility to it, right? Because these kids are now looking up to you. What does that all feel like for you, being involved in all of this?
Oh man, that's a great question. Growing up, before, I grew up in the time where before social media. I think I was just graduating or starting college, and Facebook was coming out. So we grew up in a world that there was not a lot of knowledge of what's going on outside of your community. And at the time, I never heard of nonprofits. It wasn't a bigger thing back then as it is now. There's tons of nonprofits out there now. And so I always knew that I wanted to work with kids, but I only thought the two ways that you could do that was as a teacher or as a coach, right? Those are the most ways most people, work with kids. And so when I got out of the classroom and stumbled into Leap for Literacy, my eyes opened to, now I can impact more kids out than inside the four walls of my classroom and the four walls in that school. Now, granted, the impact that a teacher can have on a class or on a kid, there's no greater impact. Right? There's no greater impact because you're with them all year long, more than they're with their families, right?
Yes.
But you can still have an impact. And I see that impact. Just today, I was at a school that I visit. I was visiting once a month. I would go in and do story time. And it's a school for young adult or kids with special needs. And they showed them the very airy library. And these kids were just so excited to see me. You would have thought Michael Jackson or
I know Michael Jackson will be doing that. Continue on.
or Michael Jordan walked in the room, and I'm like, wait a minute, somebody else. They're just losing it, And so to go to your point about the responsibility that comes with that, But I'm just blown away for the potential of this show and to have an impact not only here in Georgia where I live, but across the
Wait,
nation.
wait, wait, wait. He lives in Georgia? My home state. Continue on.
And across the world. So I'm just excited for the opportunity. And I've been living my life in a way I feel to prep me for this season that I'm in. And I'm just really excited to let my life's work carry into this because what I'm doing on the screen is what I'm doing in real life. And it's just an honor to be able to be myself on the screen and also, be myself in real life, so.
Well, we've got so many different places to go with this. So I'm going to start with the book.
Okay.
And then we're going to get to Leap for Literacy, and then we're going to go to the show. And I can't wait to talk about that. But I want to know what it felt like, because obviously you had this beautiful goal, right? You're going to show the kids by doing. So you decided to become an author and do a book, but obviously it's a very personal book to you. What was it like when you finished it?
Oh man, I get choked up a lot of times when I read it. And probably the hardest time I've ever read this book was the first time I kicked off our writing program.
Wow.
So my book is dedicated to my mother. So
wow.
The writing
Wow. Okay. I have no problem with that. Continue on.
program will always be special to me as well. On my mom's birthday, August 23rd, I read my book for the first time in front of a school, 450 kids and teachers, with my mom in attendance on her birthday. And my book is dedicated to her. So I read my dedication to her, and it goes a little bit like this. For my mom, Eva, the most kind, most selfless, most dependable, most hardworking, most faithful human I know, all and no charge.
Wow.
And I told the kids why I wrote that book. My mom was the reason I say most kind because she always taught me to treat others the way I wanted to be treated. When I say selfless, I'd say she's just like your parents. They're selfless. They put your needs before our needs, or their needs, our needs before their needs. Sorry. So she was always making sure me and my sister had everything we need. When I say dependable, my mom was at every t-ball, basketball, college game that I ever had. I could depend on her to be there for me. She was supportive. When I say hardworking, I said when my father passed away, my mom worked 2 jobs to make sure me and my sister had everything we need. And when I say most faithful, my mom always taught me to keep the faith. Know that if you do the right things, good things will happen to you. And even if when bad things may happen, keep the faith that something good will come out of that. And so when I finished the book, I was really excited to be able to let my mom know how I felt, but also to tell people about my father and how he had an impact on my life, and with him giving me his name. And so I'm named after my father. So every time I look at my name, every time I look at Stan and the man, I think of him because we share the same name. Wow. But it's just what I tell the kids is that this book is so special to me because as long as this book is in the hands of a kid or on a shelf of a library, my father's story still lives on. He's still alive. He's still on someone's brain when they read this book. Mm-hmm. And so I feel like when I completed this book, I immortalized him. And so it's super special to me that I'm able to use that story to inspire the next generation of storytellers.
Wow. Now let's talk on the other end with this. Because, becoming an author, I think there's, I don't know how to exactly put it, but there's a perception, right? I have to have done this or this or this, or I'm not this or this or that, which holds people back from writing a book and telling their stories. Yeah. Okay. So what was it in you to say, I'm just going to do this. I can do this and I'm going to do this.
Yeah. The driving force was the kids. I knew that I wanted to give kids a platform to write their own stories because kids these days, they're so creative. They're so smart. And I knew that I had to come from an area of where they want to get. to that authorship, right? And so I did not only do it for myself, I did it for the kids to be able to go in and say, look, guys, if I can do it, you can do it. Because we all have a story. This is my story about my father. You have a father. You have a cat. You have a favorite baseball team. So do it. Just do it. And so I say that I wrote this. The reason that I put my pen to my paper was to inspire kids, you know. And then
Yeah.
once I started writing, and I'm like, wow, this is, you know, it's bringing back all these great memories of me and my father. And then I got once I saw the power of this story, and um, I realized that it was for me. You know, you may start off, and that's what I hope kids see as well. They kind of get in that same thing that I'm doing. I'm okay. I got to write it for school or for this program, you know. And then once they get into it, they start to enjoy it, and they see the power of a story, you know. And so, so the ultimate drive was to have something to be able to relate to the kids, to say, hey, I did it, you can do it, and this is how. This is the way I got to it. And come on, let's jump on this train and go to the path of go down the path of authorship.
Well, it's so brilliant, and it's so important because we've talked about this on this show a lot. Kids are so creative, but then when they get older, they stop, and they stop a lot of times because, well, now it's for some reason now it's impossible, or it's not cool, or it's this or this or that, right? All these other influences stop them, and they're and there's limited, right? They go, oh heck, I'm going to do it anyway. So it's just unfortunate it happened, but I think if you can go back and say, you know, I was 6 and I wrote, or I was 8 and I wrote a book, of course I can do this.
And that's the thing, you know, today was a special day because one of the culminating events when a kid sees their books for the first time, we put their book in the library at their school. And a lot of times the kids, they're in the library once a week minimum, right? Checking out these books.
Wow.
And you see these authors and they're older like us, you know, and you don't think that you could ever be in a library, have a book, but to get a book, and our youngest author is 6, to be 6 years old and your book is in the library and your friends are checking it out, you know what that can do for your self-esteem, right? Like sky is the limit, and people are buying it, and I'm getting money in my account. Like now, it's just like you can do anything, you know.
Wow.
And so, you know, that's what I want to give kids is an opportunity to show them that it doesn't matter your age, your words, your story matters. And I'm so excited for everybody to when they tune into the show. That's one thing that we're highlighting is that these kids that are writing these books, we want to bring these stories to life. And we want to show them that it matters.
Exactly.
Right, we're gonna get there on that. But I want to I want to explain what you're doing here.
Yeah.
Literacy, because I think this is important. That these kids are writing, and then you're having the book actually made. You're getting a sponsor. Getting illustrations and making this. Then, as you just mentioned, going into a library, and then it's actually being able to be purchased with 100% of the profits going to the kid that wrote this book.
Yeah.
Correct. Sorry, I had to grab up.
No. So let me see this too. He is prepared for everything as well. He's got props. He's got everything. This is awesome. So I'm gonna let you go a little bit further into what I just said about this with this project.
Yeah, and so we all know the impacts that COVID-19 had on not only the nation, but our nation, but the entire world, you know. And one thing that COVID helped me do with my nonprofit is to figure out ways to expand the program outside of where I currently live in Georgia. Pre-COVID, I was telling you about August 23rd, 2019, when I kicked off this program. I was only doing it on a local basis. You know, I had to go into the school, right? Read my book, right? That was the inspiration. I read my book, and after I read my book to the entire school, I say, you know what? The cool thing about stories is that we all have a story. And then I now follow it up and say, I'm here today to give you an opportunity to share your story. And then I would give them their kit. And they would basically do it in school, and the teacher sort of facilitated. When COVID hit, I was not able to go into the schools.
Right.
So I said, if schools are closed down and I can't get in front of a school with my book to read it, I got to create a virtual aspect. So I created a virtual initiative to where
Yeah. That was the same happened to me with Julie Wardrobe. Please save this weekend. Thank you. Good night. And this, I was totally freaked out, saying we're gonna do, what the hell we're gonna do, and June the 1st came. I just tell my boss Travis Morrison I came back to work and say I was totally freaked out, and the rest I became lost, the company and things like that. The rest is history. Continue on.
I have 8 training videos over the steps in our writing process. And so any kid across America or the globe can follow us through these virtual activities. And we have a Zoom call every week with an author. So we have 8 steps in our writing program. And so I will find 8 guest authors who will partner with me, and they will take one of those steps and they'll talk about how they use that step in their process of becoming an author. And then the kids get to Zoom with them on the Thursday of that week. And we do that for 8 weeks. At
Wow.
the end of the 8 weeks, they'll take their components in this kit. You know, we have our checklist, we have a storyboard, we have a pencil, and then we have a blank book. And so they get this blank canvas, and then they write their story. So these are some that were just turned in from our last program. They write their story, and then they submit them. And when they submit their story, myself and my board will go in and we'll read these stories. Last year we had about 890 kids participating, so we read a lot of stories. We have a rubric that we kind of grade the stories on, and the stories that score the highest on the rubric, those are the ones that we will choose. And
And can you
so,
explain what that is? Explain what that is. The rubric is.
yeah, so sorry, this little teacher lingo,
Sure.
but it's just it's just checklists. So our they have complete sentences, complete thoughts, and does the story, and I don't have it in front of me, but does the story stay on topic? So just making sure, because a lot of times, especially being a 7, 6, 7 year old, you're just getting started. So
Yes.
so we don't expect the stories to be perfect. And what you were saying earlier is that you may start off and you may not be a great writer, and that's okay. And what we're telling them is that anything that you practice at, you will get better. Ask
Yeah.
Michael Jordan. Ask all these athletes that they start off and they may not have been the best on their team, but they continue to work. And that's the same thing with writing or reading. The more you do it, the better you get. And so
Hey, I want to ask real quick here. Can they submit again later down the line?
yes, yes. So it's not a one and done. So basically, what we do, we run 3 national initiatives a year. So we do one in the fall. So we'll kick that off in October, the first week of October. Then we'll do one in the winter. So we kick that off the first week of February. We actually start next Monday. Um, and then, and it's a Black History thing. And then we do one in the summer. So there's 3 national initiatives that you can jump on at any
Which is past, which is we're now in October 2023, so that was the past part. Continue on.
time. Now, I'm sure that if there's a school that wants to kick off their own writing program within their school community, they can kick that off at any time as well. So they kick it all year long. But yeah, they can resubmit. And I suggest that, Jerry. I say, look, because a lot of kids, oh my gosh, Jerry, will be reading the story and I'm like, oh, and then it just fizzles out. And I'm like, they need a little more time, or just going back and sitting it down for a little bit and coming back to it, and more ideas will come. So I always suggest that is that tell a story that you've already written and go in and add some things, take some things out to make it flow better. But yeah, they can keep resubmitting as long as they want. There's one little girl, she actually just got her book chosen, but she participated 3 summers in a row.
Wow.
And every year her books got better, and that's what I love to see is that,
Wow.
stay with it, perfect your craft, so yeah. So
do you critique them? Do you let them know?
No, it's really hard.
Sure.
And it's just when you get an influx of stories,
Right.
we're small but mighty staff. Actually, I'm the only employee, and the rest is volunteers at the moment until we grow. But we just don't have the bandwidth to do that. One day, that is my goal. is to be able to give them that feedback, that personal feedback. Like, man, I loved this part in your story and how you did this, but think about this during the next time. These are some things you could have added to make the story come full circle. So, because I think that feedback is important, because a lot of times, you know, a kid, they may get their book back and they're like, you know, I thought it was great, you know, and because we can give them that direct feedback, we can't tell them on ways they could have improved, you know, and so that's what I'm working toward. But I got to get a few more supporters before we can get to that point. So, but I think it's closer than I think. So.
Oh, it's already amazing where all you're going with this. And let's talk about another part of this, which is you have a bookmobile.
Yes.
Now, what do you do? What are you doing with it? What's involved with the bookmobile?
Yeah, so very excited about the bookmobile. It's my baby. It was the first program that we started, right? And it's the outward facing program. That's what people can see. So we have a bookmobile, and the name for it is the Read and Roll. And I used to joke with the kids. They're like, Mr. Stan, how did you come up with that? I say, well, it's easy. I said, I come in and I read to you, and then I roll out. You get it?
Wow.
Read and roll, and
Wow.
So, but the whole concept, because there are a lot of nonprofits out there doing great stuff, giving away books and all these things, promoting literacy. But I wanted to have something that was a little different than what other people were doing. And so I wanted to make the kids have some skin in the game, right? And I know from my time teaching, I taught in an under-resourced community. The school was a Title I school, and wasn't a lot of money. One time the book fair came to town, and I said, everyone who has money to go to the book fair, light up at the door, and everyone else, continue to do your morning work. And a little boy in my class came up, he said, Mr. Tucker, my mom said we don't have money for books, so I'm not going to be able to go. It broke my heart, because he thought he had to come tell me why he couldn't go. He was the only one. Everyone else that didn't have money, they kept doing their morning work. And I said, I never want money to come in between of a kid and earning a book or having a book that's theirs. And so I came up with a system to where kids have to do acts of kindness to pay for their books. So I have a saying called kindness is the currency. And so the goal for the kids is to do one act of kindness a day for a month, and then that's how they pay for their book. And pre-COVID, we had kindness boxes in each classroom. We make a little, basically a shoebox, paint it up real nice, cut a little hole, and we have kindness tickets beside the box. And so when a kid does their acts of kindness through the day, if they picked up trash off the floor or gave someone a compliment, they'll write that down. It says, I was kind when, and they say, when I was blah, 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 blah. They put that in their kindness box. And at the end of the month, when I bring the bus out, the classroom brings their kindness tickets, and they put it into my big box of kindness tickets. And then I count those, and then we tell the kids how many acts of kindness they did as a school, and then the kids all get to grab books. So now, after that moment in my classroom where money kept my student from going to the book fair, that's not a barrier when it comes to the reading room, because everybody can be kind. Kindness doesn't cost you anything. And if you can be kind, which you can get a off our bookmobile.
Exactly.
What has that been like? Seeing a kid being able to get a book, they probably couldn't have gotten a book beforehand.
Yeah. Some of the stories that I get from the teachers, the kids, sometimes they think they have to turn them in. They're like, when do I have to bring this back? And the teacher's like, no, this is your book. So it's that mentality, like you said. Sometimes these kids who would never have this opportunity to get a new book is getting it for free. And there's nothing like it, Carrie, when you see that kid get on the bus for the first time and they look around and they see all these titles, and it's nothing like it. And
wow,
that's what I live for, man. Just seeing the bright eyes, getting kids excited about reading and literacy, but also teaching them the importance of being kind. And as you know, if we encourage those things while they're young, right, they'll grow with those, and it'll stick with them. And so that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, I'm just impressed how you're doing so many of these different little programs. They're not. They're becoming bigger and bigger every day.
Yeah. I'd love to show you some of the books as well.
Show us some. Absolutely, I want to see it.
Start off with this kit, right? Their author kit, and the books will turn into something like this. This is what they'll submit, and then these are some of our illustrated books that you'll see. So this is one. It's one of my favorites, Time Machine Adventures. This young man was in 4th grade when he wrote this. This is our first chapter book. It's a smaller book, but it's called Bouncing Around. It was written by a 5th grader. She lives in New Jersey.
And I'm curious, as you're showing these, I'm thinking about the illustration part of it. Are they involved in that aspect?
Going back to when you asked if I provide feedback,
Sure.
I want to get to that point.
So the illustrators choosing it based on the stories?
Yeah, and basically the other thing that we do, this is my favorite aspect of it, because I did it one time, Kerry, and it was so hard to, now, so you think about it, I have my own personal schedule, my own life, right?
Sure.
And so then I have to carve out a date or time that works for myself. Then I have to go find the kid and their family to make sure they align with my schedule. It's the time. Then you get the author or the illustrator. So it's just so much that you have to juggle. But one thing that we use with these books, and it's my favorite thing about it, because the kids turn in their manual that I just showed you. But in the back of the book, we have something called Peek at the Original. So you can see the original artwork by the kid.
Oh, wow.
And so that's where we're able to take.
That was the same thing happened to me when I was in 5th grade. When I had to write a book called Luke's Big Day Out. That was one of the books when I wrote when I was a kid. And that thing I have to show you, either the 400 episode special or a 500 episode special bedtime stories. We'll just see. Right now, let's continue on.
His vision and turn it into this. So, no, the kid doesn't have hands-on, being able to say like this, but we take their manual and pull components from that and turn it into the real book.
And the illustrator is seeing their original work.
Yeah, so the original work is sent to the illustrator. So
wow.
And it's also powerful too, because it can kind of be watered down a little bit if you're seeing the book. Because even myself, as getting my personal book illustrated, and I was seeing the checkpoints and whatnot. And so when it was done, I already had kind of seen it,
Right.
But what kids are getting, they don't know, right? And so my favorite thing, if you visit our website, we have a tab called Love at First Sight. And it's all the kids' reactions when they're seeing their books for the first time. And to me, it's more powerful when you haven't seen it. You've been waiting for months, and then it's finally here. You're just like, oh my goodness, so.
Well, and you didn't show this part, or you didn't tell this part, but in that busy schedule, you also have to get someone to pay for it. And getting sponsors, which then the sponsors are mentioned in the back of every one of these books.
Wow.
Yeah. So in our business model, we obviously money doesn't grow on trees, and so
I know
the illustrations cost money. As you can see, some of these books are beautifully. All these books are beautifully illustrated, and the community aspect that we're doing is that when a kid is getting their book illustrated from a school, we go out to the community to see if any community partners or any businesses would like to sponsor this young author's book. And I'll show you what that looks like. In the back of this book, it was sponsored by a local Chick-fil-A. And so you can
see I'm allergic to Chick-fil-A, and it's terrible. That has the chicken I'm allergic to in this Chick-fil-A, but the chips were good. Unfortunate to say this. Continue on.
So in the back of that book, as long as this book is in circulation and being printed, your business information or your dedication is in the back of that book. You can be a business. There is one family, their daughter was an educator, and she passed away at a young age. And so they dedicated, because she loved stories, and they dedicated the book in her honor. So there's so many ways that you can
sponsor a kid's journey, but also to leave your mark as well in that book. And every time someone looks at it, they're gonna say your name. Oh, this book was sponsored by such and such. So we're asking for communities and individuals even to pay for the illustrations for these books
Wow.
for the kids. And you look at it as an investment, Carrie, in the sense of these kids are getting 100% of the royalties. I'll show you this little guy right here. Spoiler alert: he's going to be the first author on our show, but he's sold probably close to 300 copies.
Wow.
So he's made over $1,200 easy. You know?
Wow, it's a lot of money.
And we list all of our books on Amazon for $10, but at one
Whoa. I need to buy it. If you watch this, Mo, it's for you. Continue on.
time he was selling his for 15 with an autograph. So
Jeez. 15 with an autograph? Okay, continue on.
It's 15. And so, that's the thing we're also teaching them is entrepreneurship. It's like, go sell your book, go sell yourself,
No.
You don't need a lemonade stand, go have a book stand. So
Yeah.
I like for funders of these books to look at it as you're investing into this kid. It's almost like you're giving them money, but you're also giving them, a story. And this lasts forever. You think about these kids who are 6 years old, when they're having kids, that book is still there for a lifetime, and it's probably going to get passed down. My dad wrote a book. Boom. My grandfather wrote a book. My great-grandfather, and so
Wow.
I like for sponsors to think about it's just a lifetime thing for these families. And another component, we work with young adults with special needs and kids with special needs. And so I've just gotten so much feedback from parents of these kids and young adults of how impactful it is for not only the kid but for their family. And so when sponsors see that, that it's a lifetime thing for these kids, lifetime opportunity.
Well, you just hit my heart, because special needs is something that Barney did a lot of visits with special needs kids over the years, and we actually have a lot of special needs adults that watch this show.
Well, like me, even though I've diagnosed with autism since I was 18 months old. I gotta do something about this, Carrie. Continue on.
It's just incredible.
Yeah.
The power of them. It's absolutely inspiring. So I love that you're doing that. I don't want to get too away from what I was going to ask you just a second ago, which is anyone watching this show.
Wow.
How can they can reach out to you if they want to sponsor a book?
Yeah, thank you for asking. Yes, so if you want to help a young author to have their story to be professionally illustrated and to last for a lifetime, please visit our website, leapforliteracy.org. Go to the donate tab, and there are different options that you can choose. The final option, our biggest donation, is sponsor a book. And you can go in, click that, make that sponsorship. We'll reach out to you, ask you about what you would like in the sponsorship page. We also have an event every year. Actually, this is the first year. This is the annual event, but it's called a Picture Book Perfect Evening.
Okay. Hang on. Give me a moment. Okay, he found this, and let me just turn. Yeah, I don't want to get copyright from YouTube. And I'm gonna search favorite football player right now because I'm saving it for Thanksgiving Day. So yeah, I wonder what's he doing. Where's the football player? I don't see it everywhere, fortunately. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have to spend my money on favorite football one. I can meet my favorite. Oh, it's $9.99 and it's on paperback. It's not available at the Kindle stores. Okay, makes sense. Continue on.
Like picture perfect. Every kid that you see here with all these books that we have, they will be invited that night. Also, if you sponsor a book, you will get 2 complimentary tickets as well to be there at that event to see the kids signing their books. And we also have a red carpet where we'll call the kids' names and they'll walk down the red carpet. We give them a big round of applause for their accomplishment. So just visit the website. And please support. You know, our goal this year in 2022 is to illustrate.
Wait. Hang on. How many years in 2022? What year was this first came out? If I meet my favorite... Are you kidding me? Came out in 2021? Hang on. Hang on. Leap. What year this came out? President Seton Hall, the founder Stan Tucker. Okay. They're on the Ellen Show. Okay. And About Us. Okay. I don't see it. The year is... I don't know. No, I'm looking for the Leap for Literacy year. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. About. Yeah, what year he founded it? What year he started that company? Oh, let's just continue on.
You know, our goal this year in 2020.
Wait, close caption. Hang on. How many years was that? Continue on.
2 is to illustrate 50 books. We need the help. So I would love for anybody that's out there watching that would like to make an impact, please reach out to us because we need it.
Well, we will definitely get the links and our social media and everything we can to help you get that message out. Because and I've told you this, my wife runs a nonprofit, and so I understand all about nonprofits. And you know, that's what I love about what you're doing is the value, right? When you're doing something, you can really feel the value of donating and helping, and you're helping in so many different ways, from them learning to write and the whole process. It's really amazing.
Yeah, and you know, one thing that I'm looking forward to, and this is like 10 years down the road, but I want to add some of these books to the bookmobile. So some of these authors will donate some of their copies, and these kids are getting on the bookmobile. Say, hey, come in. You know, this guy right there, he was just like, he reminds me of you. I remember him just like yesterday. And he wrote a story, and if he can do it, you can do it as well. And so everything will kind of go full circle and feed itself. So fuel the whole mission, you know.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, we talk about that you didn't know how to write, but you weren't an author, and now you become an author. And now you are here on TV, on YouTube with this new show, The Very Airy Library. I saw the pilot, and was blown away, and I had no idea that you had done TV before. This was all new to you. I started reading all of this stuff. But you're kind of perfect for it. We've interviewed the Young brothers, who are unbelievable.
Wow.
Couple guys, and I can see the connection of the three of you is really, really impressive. And I know you're not just the host of this show, but you're also part of writing and your program and all aspects of this. Was there ever a part going, what am I doing? I can't host the show, or you just said, no, let's go, and you jumped in?
Yeah, I came from a background that wasn't in the theater or drama or anything. I never, in my wildest dreams, thought that I would have an opportunity to be on TV, right? To be an actor. But
We'll get to that. I'll be right back. We'll get some more. Be right back. Back, folks. Sorry about that. I just came back from getting my snack ready. So let's continue where we left off, shall we? See what we got for us. Hang on.
thought that I would have an opportunity to be on TV, right? To be an actor. But if you remember your, first, second, third grade teachers in primary school, you kind of have to be an actor, right? And when I taught second grade, you really have to be animated when you're reading these books. You're not reading Tom jumped on the bicycle and drove down the road. No,
Wow.
Tom jumped on his bike and
Wow.
he drove down the road. So you really got to get into it. So it's definitely. I'm not saying I'm not learning, and there's a lot to learn, but I just comfortable because I was always able to open up and be myself and to act silly and to be animated at times, because that's kind of what we did in the classroom, in my second grade classroom. And I actually did my student teaching in a first grade class. So, I was always, that animated type, but it's just so much fun. Oh my goodness. I am just, every time we get closer to a film session, I'm just like, can't sleep that night because I'm so excited. So it's just an amazing opportunity to be able to, with the internet, you can go all over the world, and
Wow.
the opportunity to be able to inspire kids not only locally in my community, but nationally and globally at some point. So,
Well, I was telling them when I talked to them, I'd never been in a costume.
okay.
I auditioned for Barney, and several of the actors that played that role and some of the other roles, the same deal. We had never been actors or costume actors, or we were performers and these different things. But we had the other characters that they were looking for. And obviously that's what you have, because with kids entertainment, and I know this really well, kids react to authenticity, right? They can smell through all of that cheesiness and all of those. It ain't gonna work. The ones that are successful are authentic, and obviously, as we've been talking the last 40 something minutes, you're very authentic, and I think that you this passion you have carries to this. So you're doing your first episode. Were you nervous? Were you?
Yeah, I was a little nervous, and the brothers may have told you. I want to see what they said, but I had a call with someone else. I was meeting with the company that was looking to sponsor, and I was doing it on set. And when Matthew, he chimed in, and he, I don't know who I was talking. I can't remember who it was, but anyway, he chimed in, and he was like, "All right, so you saw the first version." He was like, "Well, that was the second take, because the first take we had to scrap it because Stan was just so stiff, and I was like reading line for line, I had to make sure. I'm like, all right, am I saying exactly what and they're like, Stan, just be natural, do what feels right, and
Wow.
so the first time wasn't great. But the second time, after I was able to watch myself and to practice a little more and to really get comfortable with the set and moving around and knowing placement, it's gotten better. But it's just so much fun, great experience, and the first episode, just seeing it come to life, it's more than I ever could imagine. It's definitely a beautiful episode, and the fun thing is that it's just going to get better from here.
Well, yeah, they did mention that part, but they also mentioned where they came from, which is they didn't even know what they were doing, and I it's just really unbelievable. They've started a business out of this, and now to what you all are doing.
Wow.
And then this aspect that you're going to bring your kids along with this.
Yeah.
These authors, I just think it's amazing, and I love that it feels. And we were obviously going to put links to everything that you guys are doing, but it feels like some of the shows I watched as a kid, and it also feels modern. And I think that's the part that really is it makes books kind of cool, right? The whole aspect of it.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's the exciting thing. Like you said, we want to give that, that retro look, but
Yeah.
also you said keep it hip, keep it, relevant to today's time. But the thing that I think that's going to be most impactful for the kids that are watching is when they see their peers on the show, right? And then when they learn that, this is not someone that we casted to find, right? This is a real author. And guess what? You can be just like them. Sign up for the writing program, share your story, and that could be you sitting on set.
Wow.
So the coolest thing to me is that if you're out there and you're watching, you could be on the show. Pick up that pencil, share your story, submit it, and you never know what can happen. And so that's the thing that I think that's so cool to me is that you're giving kids an opportunity to be on the show because I don't know many shows of where kids get an opportunity like that, a fair opportunity to be on it. There may be a game show or something where you may have to, I used to watch, a lot of Double Dare back in the day.
Wow. T1.
And whatnot. And, some of those things you couldn't do. Let's just say you had a disability, right? You couldn't run and do those activities, but you can write, and so now with this show, any kid has an opportunity to be on the show.
Which is just amazing. Back to for a second here with doing the show, because obviously I was in the world of imagination with dinosaurs and all that. What was it like for you? Because you're responding, you've got puppets on this show. You've got digital puppets on this show. You've got to look at a camera. There's a lot you're having to do to, you're the captain of this ship. Was that all challenging as well?
It is just learning those nuances of where to look, especially as being on set and there's multiple people there, there's different angles being shot, and that was something that I had to get used to of like, all right, make sure you look here, make sure you you turn your body this way, and then like you said, being the captain of the ship, all eyes are on me at pretty much all times, so it was a bit challenging at first, but now it's very humbling because it's my ship, right? And everybody's looking to me to get us to our destination, right? Now I need all the characters, supporting characters, but I'm the captain, And
Right.
so it's a great feeling, It's definitely a lot of pressure up front, but I think I've really found my groove, and it feels good. I'm ready to lead this ship to the next level.
I love it. There's a lot of people that watch this show, and I talk about this a lot on this show, that want to get into the business. They want to do something like you're doing, right? They want to be an actor or an author or run their own foundation. We all know that you get a lot of times, and I know you probably hear it a lot, you get no, right? You're asking a sponsor or this or that, and you're just told no.
Yeah.
And that's just part of life, right? But how do you take that no and either turn it into a yes or just go, okay, I'm going to find the next opportunity. I'm going to do this one way or the other.
Yeah, that's a great question, Gary. I think first of all, you have to have that passion. You got to believe in what you're doing wholeheartedly, 100%. Right? That's the first thing. If you don't believe in it, you're not going to make it when you hear 100 no's before you get that first yes. You're not going to make it.
You gotta at least do something.
That's been my struggle for the last 6 years of starting this nonprofit, is that I've gotten a lot of no's, and I've done a couple of things, good and bad in my life, in the sense of sometimes I can be very sensitive, right? I want everybody to say yes. I want everybody to like me, and hearing a no sometimes, it's like, you don't this is my baby, this is my dream. You don't believe in me, it hurts, But it's also a good thing, in a sense of Be reflective on that no, right? There's two things you do when you hear that no. Reflect. Why are they saying no? Is there something that I can do better? So ask them. So what are you looking for? What could I do to gain your support? All right, and then you go back to the drawing board. And then the second thing is that a good friend of mine says, if he hasn't heard certain amount of no's in a day, he hasn't talked to enough people.
Right.
And so keep going, keep pushing, because everybody is not going to support. Even the people, your family, your friends, and people say they're not going to. But you can't get
Yeah.
caught up into that. Continue listening in your heart, and if you believe wholeheartedly in your mission, I promise you, in time, it's going to pay off. So just hang in there. I'm a living witness, just if you hang in there, things will happen, because each year things have gotten a little better and a little better and a little better. And then before you know, you're at the top of that hill. And just keep working.
Well, we're talking about the Very Airy Library, but that's actually not your first time on TV, right? You have been on the Ellen Show.
Oh man, yes.
Which I mentioned during the episode of LJPCBM. Continue on.
Gosh, that was an experience for sure. The whole thing was a surprise to me. I always look at the guests and I'm like, are they really that surprised? And so the way they kind of framed it, and I'm sure she doesn't mind me telling it now because this final season, spoiler alert. But so the way they formed it was that they saw this was right after I dedicated my book to my mom, and I recorded that. And so they said they love what you did for your mom and what you're doing in your community. We're going to do something on our social media called People You Need to Know in your community. And we want to spotlight you. They said, do you and your mom like the show? And I said, yeah, we love it. They said, well, we're going to fly you out. And while you're here, we're going to film you for our campaign on our social media after the show. And so I'm like, great. And so we get out there, Carrie, and we're enjoying. I'm looking over at Twitch, and he's like trying to get me to dance. And I'm like, Twitch, no, I have 2 left feet. Don't call me out. And so we sit down, and me and my mom are enjoying the show. And I had no idea, Carrie, because I believed what they said they were going to do. So we're just sitting there, and she says, all right, the new Nancy Drew series is starting this month, and in honor, they want to give somebody in my audience $25,000. And I'm still just like, oh, that's cool, right? And she said, all right, I'm going to need a contestant. She said, raise your hand if you are encouraging kids to read. And literally, everything was like in slow motion. I'm like, oh my gosh, they tricked me. I hadn't even planned anything to say to her. I'm just like, oh my, and it just happened in slow motion. So they called me down there, and I got a chance to meet Ellen and tell a little bit about a story about a kid who got a book off the bookmobile who was homeless, and the teacher told me that he was taking the book with him everywhere he went, where the cover was even falling off. And so I got to share one of the stories and got to play a game that I failed miserably at, and but she still rewarded me with $25,000, and it was just a great opportunity to gain exposure to my program. Because the other thing is too, a lot of times when you're starting something, before people will buy into what you're doing, they want to know who else has supported you. They want validation. And so being on the show, even though they didn't mention the name of my nonprofit, but I can always name drop and say, yeah, the Ellen Show featured us, and it gives you that instant credibility, right? And so it's just a great experience. I actually took an idea from the game that she let me play, and I created my own game that I play with students when I do author visits at school. So her game that she let me play was called the Holy Roller, and so I came up with my own game called the Read and Roll after my bookmobile. And so I'll kind of frame it the way I do a school-wide presentation, and once I get to the end of my presentation, my author reading, I'll kind of frame it just like Ellen did. I'm like, I need a couple friends to play this game. Raise your hand if you love to read. And then I'll call on 2 kids to play. So just got a lot out of the show as far as exposure and ideas on how I use that experience to impact the lives of the kids that I see in my program.
Wow.
Stan, I just can't even tell you. I'm so impressed with what you're doing. I appreciate your time today. Before we wrap up, you got to tell me what's next. I can only imagine, but what's next? What do you got going on next?
Oh man, yeah, our show is gonna kick off our weekly episode starting February the 7th. So super excited about
Which I got planned to react to the very airy library soon. Continue on.
that, getting that going on a consistent basis where kids can tune in each week. Have a
And
second
is that a very airy library? Is that the channel for it that people can find it on YouTube?
YouTube channel, is just the Very Airy Library. So super excited about that. I got another book in the works. So I'm writing my second book that I'm super excited about. Hopefully it'll be done by the end of this year. Um,
Wow,
and
end of 2022. It was holiday season. Continue on.
just getting out in the community. I'm fresh off of today of showing a young man his book for the first time. I don't have it here, but in 2 weeks I've shared two books with kids for the first time, and I just look forward to doing that and to reaching more kids and to hitting our goal of giving 50 kids an opportunity this year. Now that's my minimum goal. Now my wish list is to do 250. Because when you think about how big this nation is, when you think about 50 books, that's nothing. But it all depends on the help, the support that we get. So would love to, like I said, if you're watching out there and you like what you heard and you believe in the power of storytelling and investing in the lives of kids, please help us to reach more kids, because I promise you this impact that we're making on these kids' lives are going to last a lifetime, and it's also going to inspire other kids who see them as well. So that's what I have going up. Just doing what I'm doing in real life on the set, and then just coming out and then promoting that, and it helps everything that I'm doing. Everything that I'm doing on the set helps me in boots on the ground in schools and vice versa. Everything that I'm doing in school helps the show as well. So I hope that you all will tune in, and we'll see where the Very Airy Library stops next.
Well, I will absolutely be turning in, and I will push this like crazy because I love all aspects of it, not just the show, but what you're doing and what you're doing for kids. It's just so important. I've told this a million times. It absolutely changed my life, and I didn't expect it. And I started entertaining kids and educating kids and going to hospitals and doing all these things. And we have a lot of adults that watch this now that are like, I love Barney. Like I can talk about, but I mean, you see that, and you're obviously going to get that as well. And I just can't wait to see all the things that come your way.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Carrie, and it means the world to me, coming from someone like you who's been there, seen a lot, heard a lot, and to talk about the value and how much you enjoyed my program. That means a lot, and thank you so much just for this opportunity to present to your network and everybody that follows you. I just really appreciate for you paving the way, because like I said earlier, I was watching you when you were in that costume, not knowing the man behind it, but it's just so cool to be able to talk to you and just bring out. It's just crazy how things come full circle. So thank you for inspiring me then, and inspiring that generation, and inspiring us to this day. So thank you.
Well, my pleasure, but thank you, because I am just
Mm.
I love that you're carrying that message, and you're doing things that um, one idea after the next. I'm like, oh my gosh, that's all I love. So just keep doing what you're doing, and we're gonna absolutely have to have you back, Stan, because I can only imagine what else you got going on.
Yeah, I'm excited for you guys to see the next step. I do have a few things that I didn't tell you, so when we meet again in a few months or so, when we have more episodes out, because I really think once you see the other episodes and it really unfolds the story, and then when you see these kids come on this show, I'm telling you, it's going to be special. So we're going to have a lot to talk about for sure. So
Can't wait for it. Can't wait for it. And we will.
Should we go ahead and put it on the calendar? I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, we're going to need to put it. Don't worry. Don't worry. I tell any guest that comes on and says, just call me anytime. Be prepared, because I will call you. Danny's been on my show 3 times, so don't worry.
Wow. Wow. Wow, how many times? 3? Jeez. I've been reacting to this a whole 3 times of Danny on Purple Road's podcast, but jeez. Continue on.
I keep going. It's too important. What you're doing is too important, and the fact that we have this now with YouTube and the podcast and all those ways to get to people, too important. Because I'm very aware of all the things going on in the world and the negative, but there's so much positive.
Yeah,
we can now do all that negative very easily with things like this. So don't worry, I'll be calling.
Sounds good.
Thank you so much, Stan.
You're welcome, Kerry. It's been a pleasure.
Well, and thank you for watching Purple Roads. Remember to keep your eyes, ears, and heart open, and you'll find your Purple Road. We'll see you next week.
So that was Purple Road's podcast, episode number 98, Stan Tucker. What do I think about this episode? Oh my god, he's good at reading, he's good at stuff like that. And the founder of Leap for Liberty, hold on. That was too intense, though. I was surprised, Just think, how much you're gonna deal with this? Jeez. How much you're gonna do that? Makes sense in any way. And that was the episode of LJPCBM, episode 1368. Hope you enjoy it. Stay tuned for the next one's gonna be LJPCBM, episode 1369. That's right, 69, folks. Which will be about Purple Road's podcast, episode number 99. The board call, who's Emma on Barney and Friends. Get ready, because there'll be another Barney Purple Road's podcast episode, so be ready for that. Till next time, so Jones Box the Baby. You are eligible to so say out. See ya.
Given unto me this life I'll never take for granted, and given all the time I failed to really understand it, I never sought to meet the maker of reality, the one who gave the life that which is always happening, but I tried all the time. Why was I the one to see things as I do under the moonlight and the sun? Perception is the question, and the giver holds the key.